Speaking of doing better, how many of you could be communicating better with your past customers? Rich tackles. Really, are we already back to the fighting metaphors? Rich tackles this problem on the Tactical Marketing Call for Direct Mail. Earlier, we heard how to be LeBron James versus Oscar Robertson. Now we'll learn how to keep an open line of communication with our past customers and to stop ignoring a lucrative list.
Number 4.
We were talking about mailing current customers and potentially past customers. I think it's something that's overlooked. As I've consulted with businesses over the last 15 years, my experience has been very consistent that current customers are hugely underleveraged, that the mailing efforts, marketing efforts in total are typically not as strong as they should be, and particularly to past customers. You see this a lot in the home improvement industries that we've worked in, but certainly not confined to just home improvement, lots of industries. So let's look at some of the things that you can do with customers. Most customers leave due to perceived indifference. You've probably heard that before. One of the easiest ways to have them perceive difference as opposed to indifference is to continue to reach out to them. And one of the best ways to reach out to them is email and through their mailbox. It's very personalized. Typically, customers don't want you calling them all the time because we've documented on these calls many times before the annoying nature of phone calls. So here's what we do want to do is touch the customers on an ongoing basis. Let's go through a couple of ideas and so forth. One of them is newsletters, and there's a huge warning on there, not boring. This is one of those things. I almost feel like you'd be better off not sending anything than a boring newsletter. One of the most famous examples from this comes from an early client, Dynamo. You may have heard me talk about them before. When we showed up on their doorstep at the end of 1996, going back a little bit, they were just about to publish their second newsletter, and they had decided that they were going to publish these newsletters, I think, quarterly or bi-monthly. And I've got a copy of it here in my hand. It's a photocopy of it, and the originals and the one that we subsequently wrote did not survive, and they subsequently discontinued it, which is going to blow your mind here after you hear this story. But I've got this newsletter, and it's called the Dynamo Report, and the top story says, introducing new pool and hockey tables. 2 new product introductions by Dynamo included pool tables sporting a fresh look and state-of-the-art operational features. Top brass table hockey, the market's most elegant table. Mark Strews, Vice President of Sales and Marketing, said the company's popular standards, and it just goes through this very uninteresting description of these tables. And then the right-hand side of the page says AMOA delegates live it up at Dynamo Soiree, whatever that means. And there was an AMOA Expo that was held, and there's just a recap of what happened at the expo. And there's pictures of people playing pool and people hanging out, holding beers together. And here's a picture of 6 people, wish you were here. And as you get to the next page, it says Dynamo riding hot streak in Montana with new products, and it shows some gaming products, and then a soccer table. And then let's put Dynamo and Mark Strews receive National Exporting Award, and let's give a profile of Mark Strews, who was the guy that put this whole thing together. And then just a bunch of pictures of tables and a report on a air hockey tournament, and then an announcement of a golf tournament. And it's just boring to read this. Nobody wants to read all that junk. And we asked Mark Strews, the guy that had put it together, when they sent out the first one, what kind of response they got. And he said, I got lots of good response. I said, what do you mean lots of good response? And he said, I had lots of people calling me. Well, we drilled him down. Turns out about 5 of his friends had called him and said, hey, I got this, Mark. Way to go. You look great. And as we went to rewrite it, again, think about the situation. This isn't so much about the exact newsletter and exactly what we wrote. It's about thinking through the situation. We've got customers and prospects alike in this particular situation, but a lot of customers. And what kind of things do we want to communicate with them? We want to communicate reasons why they should buy from us, why our products are better, vendor selection, and give evidence. So we put together several stories that talked about their new tables, but not just, hey, we have new tables, but, hey, look how these new tables can make you money. And we put multiple offers, about 4 or 5 offers throughout the newsletter for different kinds of reports and so forth. One of the articles I remember we wrote was about the Dynamo hockey puck for their air hockey tables, and it was made out of a material called Lexan. Now, I didn't know much about Lexan, but I sat down and talked to these guys, and the idea was it would make it quieter, because one of the objections to air hockey is that it's too loud because the puck's clicking around all the time. So they created this puck that was made out of material that had less click noise. So we named it the silencer puck, because things need names. And we wrote this article about how much softer the noise was and how it made people want it in their place more, and how the coefficient of friction was different. And we coined a term called it eliminated or reduced greatly puck flyage, which is when pucks go flying off the table. Anyway, long story short, the newsletter was a smash success. It generated tons and tons, about 350 responses within the first couple of weeks after it went out. And then they decided to discontinue it because they couldn't afford to send it out anymore, which was dumb because they started making a ton of money off of that. But here's the point. When you send your newsletter out, look for things that are actually important and relevant that would be interesting to your customers. Now, this is difficult and it's hard, and almost nobody spends effort on it because it takes time and effort and people and money to do this kind of stuff. There's some other things, check mailers, maybe special discounts for current customers, referral requests. You've heard me talk multiple times about referrals. The best time to get a referral is later on. Now, if you can get a referral right at the point of sale, wonderful, but typically the referral is going to come later on in real life when people are having real-life conversations about certain topics, and your topic of what you sell is going to inevitably creep into people's conversations at some point during the course of the next year, 2, 3, 4. And we want to make sure that we're putting mailers in front of our customers on an ongoing basis so that they have the opportunity to remember who we are, remember what we sold, and be ready when that opportunity comes up.
Do you get the feeling that we're kind of wall-drugging you about wall-drugging your prospects? Notice how the message gets clearer and clearer for you each time. I bet you even have your calculator out running your numbers. How much is one new prospect worth to you? How many times can you afford to blast them to win them? We'll make warmongers out of you yet. Marketing warmongers. Not the bad Sack of City Steelers artwork kind.